ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. Thank you to participate in this project with excellent colleagues from different countries, and I am also very happy to hear with you again. For my almost last presentation, allow me to start with a little color. The picture shows a future development, the creation of a regional complex cardiovascular development in cardiac surgical background in Miskolc, which will be completed by 2026 to restore the health of the region. The rationale for the investment is that Hungary has inherently poor public health indicators for cardiovascular disease, with life expectancy 5 to 7 years shorter than in other EU countries and higher mortality. So this is a fine example of the infrastructural development of our social security system, including the healthcare system. The Hungarian social security system is based on similar roots as the systems you have described before, with a Bismarckian type compulsory participation and contribution system, similar demography problems, and so on. In our presentation, we would therefore like to briefly describe how the Hungarian legislation has taken over the chapters of the social charter relating to social security and why it has not taken over certain provisions. The amended European Social Charter was proclaimed in Hungary in 2009. The Act contains, for the time being, the commitments within the amended Charter which the Republic of Hungary has already undertaken under the Charter and the additional protocol. The reason for this is the principle of the optimum minimum. Yes, the principle of optimum minimum, which has been followed since the ratification of the Charter in 1999, according to which it is advisable to adopt only those provisions of the conventions with which the Hungarian legal system and jurisprudence already comply, or for which compliance can be ensured with possibly minor legislative amendments or with the least budgetary expenditure. Another aspect is that the Council of Europe has expressed some criticism regarding the fulfillment of the commitments already undertaken regarding the domestic regulation of strikes, so it is advisable to focus on addressing the problems raised by the Council of Europe first, and then to examine the possibility of undertaking new commitments. In the coming years, new commitments could be proposed gradually, as has been the practice so far. Article 11, 13 to 17 we ratified for the above reasons. Okay. And the Article 11 is the problematic, the right to the social security. The first regulation is to establish or maintain a system of social security. We ratify this, but the Commission's findings in this respect: the first, the minimum amount of old age pension is inadequate. The committee notes from the report in this regard that the minimum old age pension is rarely applied in practice when setting pensions, and those receiving low pensions do not form a homogeneous group. In addition, for persons on a low pension, there is a possibility of an exceptional pension increase on equitable grounds and the payment of a one-off benefit. According to MISOC, the minimum amount of the social insurance old age pension is 88 euro per month in Hungary. The committee notes that this level falls below 15% of median equalized income and therefore is manifestly inadequate, and the situation is not in conformity with the Charter on this point. And the second, the maximum duration of payment of job seekers' allowance is too short. As regards unemployment benefits, in its previous conclusion, the committee found that the amount of job seekers' aid which is granted to unemployment persons who have exhausted their entitlement to job seekers' assistance after receiving it for at least 45 days and who will reach pensionable age within 5 years was manifestly inadequate. In its previous conclusion, the committee found that the duration of job seekers' allowance, which was up to 19 days, was too short. The committee notes from the report in this regard that the support of registered job seekers can be managed dynamically, primarily by supporting employment or by involving the persons concerned in active labor market instruments. The following points have not been harmonized, ratified for the following reasons. These two sections means to maintain the social security system at a satisfactory level, at least equal to that necessary for the ratification of the European Code of Social Security. And the reason is, under the Article 11, Section 2 of the European Social Charter, the contracting parties undertake to maintain their social security system at least at the level required by ILO Convention number 102 on minimum standards of social security. This article requires the ratification of the Council of European Convention on the European Code of Social Security instead of ILO Convention 102. Hungary is not yet party to either ILO Convention or the European Social Security Code. The peer reviews carried out so far have not supported the ratification of the code because the conditions of benefits in the country do not fully meet the level required for the ratification of the code. Accordingly, the adoption of Article 11.2 of Amendment European Social Charter is not justified for the time being. And the three, to endeavor to raise progressively the system of social security to a higher level, the case law evidence of a single improvement in social security or social benefits was already sufficient for the Commission to conclude that progress had been made. However, according to paragraph 3, an improvement can only be considered satisfactory if the social security system already meets the minimum levels set out in the code. As can be seen from the case law, the fulfillment of the requirements of paragraph 3 is closely linked to paragraph 2, the fulfillment of the level of benefits required by the code, and therefore, in view of what is written in relation to paragraph 2, the adoption of paragraph 3 cannot be accepted. Furthermore, the continuous improvement of social security benefits entails budgetary costs, the sustainability of which is currently questionable. And the last is the force. Yes, this requirement of equal, so we can see this is the text of the force. The equal treatment, the E says equal treatment with their own nationals of other parties in respect of social security rights and so on, and the B is granting maintenance and resumption of social security rights by such means as the accumulation of insurance or employment periods completed under the legislation of each of the parties. So the requirement of equal treatment is applied to a different extent under domestic law for nationals of EU member states and third countries, as a significant number of the state parties to the Charter are non-EU member states. The principle of equal treatment cannot be fully applied at present, also in view of the prohibition of indirect discrimination. As far as bilateral social security conventions are concerned, Hungary has made significant progress in concluding them in recent years. However, there are several state parties to the Charter with which it is not foreseeable when a social security agreement will be concluded. It is also possible that bilateral social security conventions with some non-European countries will be concluded earlier than with some of Charter's contracting parties, since Article 12.4b in practice requires the conclusion of new social security conventions with the Charter. States it is not advisable to undertake this obligation in the short term. And the conclusion could be that one, on the basis of the above, the adoption of Article 12, second, third, and fourth regulation is not feasible at this stage, but it is advisable to continue the ratification process in the next few years. However, in the last 15 years have passed since then, the above provisions are still not ratifiable. In our view, ratification would be the solution to the problems that exist and are described in the book, and my colleagues described here, Professor Henrietta, Professor Zakaria Márton, Professor Bernadette Szekeres. However, there are no signs of any legislative efforts to this end, and in the public social security system, and the increasing development of the private health care system suggests that there is a desire to transfer workers to the private healthcare system, which is inappropriate in our view. Thank you very much for your kind attention.